for joining us. Jennifer Horn, Grant Stinchfield from The Morning Answer. Tune in 6 to 9 a.m. right here on AM 870. And we are joined by Dr. Emily Loy, who is the president and founder of Wealth Creation Insurance Services, Inc. You can find them at wealthcreationinsurance.com. That's wealthcreationinsurance.com. If you prefer to call, 714-714-0811. 714-714-0811. Now, Dr. Loy, one of the things that has been hammered into my head as an only child, both of my parents are very happy to tell me all the time that they have long-term care insurance.
Mm-hmm.
They
do? Big Mike, it does?
Big Mike has long-term care.
Oh, you are so lucky.
My mom...
Not that he's going to need it. Not that either one of them are ever going to need it because they're in great shape. But
just a personal story, though. The reason I asked about something catastrophic is that my grandparents, my grandmother had a stroke. She did not die, but she needed nursing care, basically, skilled nursing. And she was in a nursing home for 5 years. And that is a really tough thing for a family when you don't have something like this, because it is not cheap to get either nursing services in the home or out of the home.
I wonder if my parents have this.
I'm telling you,
me if they don't have this.
Well, as an only child, this is helpful because I'm the one that's going to be responsible for this, right?
Why is Dan the only one laughing at my jokes?
Let's talk about long-term care, because I think a lot of people think about this, no matter where they are in life, what is going to happen when you might need some extra help.
That's right, because as you know, from personal stories, right, that it's so expensive. And as of 2022, the survey says that it costs about $92,000 per year.
I can tell you that that's probably right, just having gone through this about 10 years ago with my grandmother.
And so $92,000 a year. And I have a couple months ago a client who came to me and said that he is looking for long-term care because his dad just passed away and he blew away about $400,000 of his 401k savings due to long-term care. And that just in 3 years, and he passed away, right? So on average, that's the cost. And we want to know, because medical insurance, normally long-term care is, you can purchase that from a medical insurance company. However, especially for someone who's in their 50s and older, it costs a lot of money. So there are other alternatives out there. And I'll give you a few examples, but let's say if you're going to purchase a life insurance product, right? If it's a life insurance, a permanent life insurance product, in there's long-term care that's attached to it. And those permanent products also earns an interest. And if nothing happens, you're completely healthy, you can take it out and use. It's tax-free, right?
Great.
Just like a Roth IRA, it's tax-free. And then so all the long-term care is included in it with no extra cost. And then, God forbid, they also have all these critical illness, critical injury, right? Critical illness, most people don't even think about it. But in this country, heart attack, stroke, and cancer are the three most common illnesses, right? And if something happens to you, and let's say you have a stroke and, now paralyzed for life, or at least for a few years, how are you going to have money? So this is when long-term care comes in, or these life insurance products comes in, because of the critical illness rider that's in it, right? So if, let's say, the person has $1 million in life insurance, they can, depending on the severity of the condition, of course, they can take out, if it's very severe, the insurance company can offer up to 90% of the death benefit, right? So if they have $1 million policy, they'll be given out, paid out $900,000, and they can use that while they're not able to go to work, whether they have long-term care or they have a critical illness, right? With long-term care in a life insurance, though, they will pay out monthly instead of a lump sum, like a critical illness like heart attack, stroke, cancer.
So the life insurance, does that have to be the cash value? You have to build up that cash value?
No. So even in a term insurance, let's say if you purchase a term insurance for 30 years and during those 30 years something happened, there's no cash value in a term, right?
Of course.
You still have a long-term care that's attached to it. In California, though, because the law strictly prohibits you to say long-term care when it's not a medical insurance, so they call it a chronic illness, but it uses the same two qualifying event as that if you cannot, say, take a bath by yourself, you cannot, get dressed by yourself, you cannot walk by yourself, you cannot eat by yourself, things like that, or you become incontinent. So 2 out of 6, then you can qualify for that. And then long-term care.
I will tell you this, Dr. Loy, if all of those things happen to me, my expenses decrease drastically. No more girlfriend. She's gone. No more fancy vacations.
Only
no more
6 in a
steak
week?
dinners.
I
No
know.
more anything. But I'm just going to need that long-term, the hospice care, I guess.
So Grant's going to go from 7 girlfriends to 6 girlfriends. a week.
That's
No,
right.
just
He's going
one,
to
just one girl.
downsize. But these are really important things. And I love the idea. So with all of your plans, what I think is interesting that I've heard so far, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that you basically are taking out an insurance policy on yourself that you might need. But the great thing about some of these plans that you can structure is that that money's going to be there for you. Here's the good news. If you don't need them, right, you can actually give that to somebody. You can pass it on.
course.
That's what's so important, because I think for so many of us with our 401k plans, that money, it just kind of goes up in the air sometimes. You know, the pension plans, it's gone. So I think this is a great way to not just plan for yourself, but to also leave something that your family can use as
All
well.
right, go ahead. Yeah.
Well,
ahead.
you know, besides that life insurance product that we just talked about, there's also long-term care in certain fixed index annuity with lifetime income.
Right.
They also have long-term care, and there's like a carrier that they call it the impairment multiplier. So let's say if this person was guaranteed a $40,000 per year of income, something if he just taken out, say, 2 years, and then now he needs long-term care, they're going to pay out, they're going to double that up to $80,000. So now you get $80,000 per year, and if the account value, he drains the account, it goes down to 0. No more money in the account. They're going to stop that $80,000, but they're not going to stop it altogether. They're going to drop it back down to that $40,000 per year.
Oh, wow.
So you're still guaranteed a lifetime income, right? And they're like, well, what if I don't need it? Well, if you don't need it, you still have a guaranteed lifetime income.
Right.
But if you do need long-term care, it's going to double up because it's going to cost more money when you are in a nursing facility. And the best thing is that you don't need to be in a nursing facility, because nursing home, if you have a long-term care plan from a medical insurance, you have to be in a licensed facility in order for them to pay you out. And especially it's called a reimbursement in those cases from a medical insurance. That means if, say, the medical insurance company say they're going to pay you $5,000 per month, and if your nursing home facility charges you $6,000, you have to pay out of pocket $6,000, and then you send in the receipt, and then they'll reimburse you the $5,000. Whereas with the long-term care, whether it's in a life insurance or in a fixed index annuity, as long as your doctor, the family doctor, said this person needs long-term care, he certifies that, they will pay the check directly to you. They don't really need any receipts or
There's
anything.
not the
It's-
oversight. You can
So
do
you
what you
could
need
have
to do,
somebody come into your home.
which is great.
You can stay at home and still, and even let's
That's
say
amazing.
if Grant has his, if he ever needs and he has his girlfriend takes care of him and she doesn't charge him anything, then he can still use that money and go do whatever he likes, right?
Okay, yeah, all
and
right.
have another girlfriend.
No, one girl.
Now
one
you're
girl.
back in business.
So all right. So let me run this scenario by you. I'm 55 years old. I've got a 14-year-old son. I've got $2 million worth of term life insurance left over from my businesses that the bank made me had for the term. But it was so cheap when I bought the insurance. I keep the term insurance because it's very cheap for me to keep. But I've got my house is 75% paid off. I've got a sizable amount of cash and stock savings. What would I do for long-term care? What would you recommend? And is it going to be a big cost to me every month, or is it monthly, yearly? How does that work?
So there are multiple programs. There are programs where you can pay in per month, or there are programs that you can invest in a lump sum, and then if you don't need long-term care, then the investment still continues to grow. But if, let's say, if you say, I prefer to pay in monthly, then instead of using, say, well, you can even do an annuity product, but if you were to do a permanent life insurance product, you can pay in monthly. It doesn't have to cost a lot depending on how much long-term care you're looking for. The good thing with a permanent insurance product is there's cash value. So you're going to grow that cash value even if you're not, if you don't need it, the money in there is going to continue to grow. And let's say if you were to purchase a $500,000 life insurance and you don't take out the cash value, and by the time you're 85, it could be up, your cash value could be up $400,000, for example, right? So now if you don't take it out, when you pass away, instead of your family getting $500,000, they're going to get $900,000, right? It doesn't go anywhere. But if you need that long-term care, it's there for you, right? And because it's
All
a
right.
better way than a term life, because the term life, most of them will cut you off at about 80 years old. And we know that at this age, we don't
We're
really
still
need
okay.
long-term care.
Right.
When we grow old is when we need long-term care, and that's when the term actually expires.
Right.
So,
So if I tie this to a life insurance policy, the long-term care, and I started it tomorrow, and I need long-term care the day after tomorrow, am I out of luck?
So most carriers will require a 90-day waiting period. So that means that, of course, when they sell it to you, they know you're completely healthy.
Okay,
but
so
if,
say 90
tomorrow,
days later or a year later,
Yeah.
I need it. Am I out of luck, or is that long-term?
No, it's going to kick in right away. But let's say tomorrow your policy is effective today, and then tomorrow something happened. Now you start to need long-term care. You just have to wait 3 months. But in 3 months, you can file for a claim, and they will still backtrack and pay you for the 3 months that they haven't paid you.
And is that forever, the long-term care, or is that you pick the term, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
So until the money that runs out. So for example, earlier we talked about, say, $1 million, right? And if they said you can accelerate up to $1 million of your death benefit, even if it's a term, they're not going to pay you a full million. They're going to pay you maximum 90% because the death benefit, you have to pass away for someone else to receive it. But if you
win the lottery, you have to die.
But if you need a long-term care, they'll pay out maximum 90%.
Right.
So usually if 90%, so they'll pay you until you deplete that $900,000 and then they'll stop. But if you pass away after using only $400,000, then there's still money left. They're just going to pay out.
And you'll be having to pay the premium every month that you're paying, though, correct?
Correct.
Yes, got it. Understood.
Dr.
Okay.
Emily Loy is with us, president and founder of Wealth Creation Insurance Services. Check them out online, wealthcreationinsurance.com, 714-714-0811. Just about a minute before the break, but I do think it's important for younger people who are worried that Social Security is not going to be there for them. And I think that's a very legitimate worry. Are there things that you can offer that will kind of combine a few of the things that we've talked about so that there is some care for people to have some income in retirement without having to rely on those Social Security checks that probably won't be there?
Well, there's a studies that shows that, or actually not a study, but there is someone from the Social Security Benefits Administration actually confirmed that by 2034, there will be a 25% reduction in Social Security benefits. So it'll still be there; it'll just be reduced. So there's something called a plan gap benefit. Right? So a plan gap benefit is a program where you will put your money in there, and then when you retire, of course, you will still have your Social Security benefit check. But if your Social Security benefit decreases by 3%, then you can start that, payout from the plan gap benefit, right? So it's kind of like a gap insurance, really. So on average, a person right now receive about $2,000 per month from Social Security. And if it's a 25% reduction, like what they're saying, if Congress doesn't step in, that means that instead of $2,000, they're going to receive $1,500, right? So now if the 3% of $2,000 is only $60, so as long as you have a $60 decrease in your Social Security check, you can trigger this plan gap benefit.
Fantastic. All right. So there's lots to talk about when you call Emily Loy over at Wealth Creation Insurance. You can tell her your situation, your needs, wealthcreationinsurance.com, 714-714-0811, 714-714-0811, wealthcreationinsurance.com. Dr. Emily Loy, stay there. We're going to bring back Chris Mitchell as well from Bitcoin Advisors. We're going to have a little fun as the 2024 AM 870 The Answer Wealth Summit continues.